Um, okay, so I'm going to be demonstrating how to connect a Django in a particular Docker container to a Postgres database in another container. Like they can be in different directories. So first, when we try to do connections like this, we need to make sure that both containers are running inside the same network, like inside the same Docker network, as you can see. So you can create it in a way where a particular container is creating the network as it's happening here. So this network is being created now, database end, and then now Django end, it's connecting to the network. So there could be some issues or some things happening behind the scene that will make this look as straightforward as it's supposed to be, and I'm going to address them, and you can see for yourself why you might be having issues doing your own connection. So first, I'll show you that under this normal circumstance, you can connect to it with any database client. So I'll run the Postgres database. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Now I use data grip. So I'm going to pick the database connection credentials from my Django app to show you that I'm actually using the right credentials for connection. By the way, this is data grip. Okay, so our database, our user, password, and then you can see that everything are pretty much the same. Localhost is the same as localhost, port is the same with the port we have here. So first we test the connection. Sorry, let me paste. Now why this password left? Give me a moment. Okay. Okay, so it creates our data source successfully. So it's obvious that the database is working fine. So let's try to connect with our Django app, so you can see the issues we might come across when we try to connect them. Okay, so the very first issue is its inability to locate the network. Now this is because when Docker creates a network without you specifying the name of the network, it automatically appends the name of the directory or folder that the container is in. So when you come to the terminal and inspect the Docker network that is being created, Docker network ls, you see that it's not just practice network, it's appending Postgres to it. See that this is our network, this is our directory, and it's appending our directory to our declared network name. So that's why our Django container cannot detect it. You see network declared as external but could not be found, so it's not really available. So to make sure this network is available, we need to explicitly declare the name here. First we comment this out. then we specify the name we want to make use of. Now remember, initially there was only Postgres practice network. So we run again, docker compose up, then run, then we check. Now you can see practice network. So this is the actual network we are looking for. So at this point we've been able to create the network that Django is expecting to listen to. So docker compose up. So you see, we no longer have that error because it can now detect the network because the network is present. But we are still going to come across another issue, which I will also explain the reason. So while it's downloading and running, the reason we are going to experience the next error is because when the two containers are trying to interact despite being inside the same network, it cannot detect it as something called localhost. Just like our database clients could detect that it's localhost, our Django container cannot see it as localhost. Okay, let's cancel this. Okay, let's cancel this. So our Django container cannot see it as localhost. Our Django container can identify it by its container name and not by the host name localhost. First, let's check what the error is. It said, okay, no, that's not what we are looking for. Okay, connection to server localhost port failed. Connection refused. Is the server running at that host and accepting TCP/IP connections? So you see, you can't detect it at localhost because of the network connection, and the network connection does not recognize it as localhost. Instead, the network connection recognizes it as its container name, which is Postgres practice. So first, we down this container, docker compose down. Okay, and then we replace localhost with our container name. Control C. And then let's run everything again. Docker compose down, docker compose up. Okay, so we have the container name for our Postgres replacing host name. That's the only thing we need to change. And then we have our practice network pointing to an external network, which it was already detecting. Then we run docker compose up. Okay, so as you can see, the container is fully working, connecting to the database successfully. And you can test it to see localhost. You can see it's fully running. You can also see that no migration to apply because I had run the container before, so the database connection was successful. You understand? Otherwise, it won't be able to migrate anything. So that's it. That's how you connect a Django project in a separate container with a Postgres in another separate container without having any connection issues. Okay, so remember the key thing is they should be running under the same network. So you can have one container create a network and the other connect to it. You should specify the name of the networks to avoid any unnecessary attachment of naming to the network, and then make sure it's the network your backend or your database is creating that is actually being referenced in whichever of the container is connecting to the pre-created network. And then make sure instead of localhost you are using the container's name. So thank you for your time and do have a great day.